Hey there, folks. Welcome back to X-Rated Taka Productions, and welcome back to our final book review of the Scary Stories trilogy. Today, we're going to be reviewing this version of Scary Stories 3, More Tales to Chill Your Bones. Right, so I do believe that this was the most even of the three books. I actually had a hard time just figuring out which stories and illustrations I wanted to share with you because there were so many I liked in this, and for so many different reasons. Well, let's get right into this sucker. All right, our first story is on page 10, and that is a story called Faster and Faster. Now, in this story, we've got some kids out in the woods. They find this drum, and they beat it, play with it, whatever I'm gonna call it. Doesn't sound good. Anyway, they play it, and suddenly you start hearing like somebody, what sounds like somebody on horseback, hunting them down, and they start running and hiding, and one of the kids gets shot in the back with an invisible arrow, and cops go back there, and it's gone. I really liked it, especially compared to that other drum story that was in one of the other Scary Stories books. That was probably one of my. It's still, of all the stories in the entire trilogy, it's probably my least favorite of them. Alright, well, our second story is on page 12, and it's called Just Delicious. Now, it's a story about a man who is not very all that nice to his wife. I believe they say he beats her. He's a bully, and the wife's this timid little thing. Well, George stops and goes and buys himself, the man named George, goes ahead and buys himself some food there, some liver. And what he does is he tells, so he orders the wife to cook it for him. Well, wife starts cooking it. She's adding all these spices, and she takes it a little bit of a taste. Well, she loves it and just continues to eat it. And once she finishes it, she's like, "Holy crap! What am I going to do? He's going to be home soon." And so she hears about this guy who's getting ready to be buried, and she figures, "I'm going to go ahead and just take that liver there, cook it up, and I'll get away with it." And she does, and it's just like a really dark kind of revenge story. I feel like it. Um, my third favorite story in this is on page 20, and that story is called Footsteps. It's another one of those kind of stories where you're getting. Oh no, I'm sorry. I forgot this wrong one again. Yeah, so yeah, in this story, there's this gal who's in her house, and she's hearing these footsteps, and she's hearing it getting closer and closer and closer. She thinks it's some dude in her house, and so she keeps, basically tells it to leave, and she eventually, yells, "Get out!" And it kind of, she hears something leaving, but she looks outside, and in the snow there are no footprints or anything. So, who or what was in the house? Yeah, so loved that story. Our next one is on page 30. Yeah, 30. All right, and that story is called Harold. Now, it's a story about a couple of gentlemen who go ahead and make a scarecrow based on somebody they both hate. Well, they treat the scarecrow like crap, and eventually, it kind of starts coming to life. Well, and it's spooky. It's a creepy looking little scarecrow there, and yeah, and in the end, basically the scarecrow kills somebody, and yeah, it's pretty terrifying. The art for it's pretty good too. Yeah, and finally, my last top favorite story is on page 57. It's called Maybe You Will Remember. Now, this is probably one of the most interactive stories I've had in here. A lot of the stories will give you instructions like, oh, talk in a certain voice or something, but the end of this story is actually telling you, and it's quite a bit of a long story. Yeah, about a girl and her mother who are staying in this hotel while the mom goes missing for one reason or another, and this girl's in this country. She's not she's in this country where people don't speak English. So yeah, or they don't, most people don't speak English. Yeah. So anyway, girl goes back to the hotel, looking for her mom, or believing her mom's at the hotel or something like that. And the hotel staff is insisting that this woman did not stay here. You know, the girl even demands to go up to the room, and it's like she discovers it's like the room's completely different. Now this kind of reminds me of that movie Hostel a little bit, but apparently it's a story that's been going on for a while. It actually asks us to the end of the last sentence here is, but Rosemary's problem was not her memory. It was what she did not know. And it actually tells you to go to page 102, which is way back in the, what do you call it? The notes and sources section. And what it says here is, maybe you'll remember how the story ends. What happened to Rosemary's mother? Well, when the hotel doctor saw Mrs. Gibbs, he knew at once that she was about to die. She had a form of plague, a dread disease that killed quickly and caused frightening epidemics. If the word got out that the woman had died of the plague in the heart of Paris, there would be a panic. People in the hotel and everywhere would rush to escape. The doctor knew the hotel's owners expected. He has to keep the case a secret, otherwise he would lose lots of money. And it tells us that the hotel staff was actually told to keep this thing secret as well, or their jobs would be threatened. And they went ahead and changed the room around. They worked hard to make this woman believe she was insane, pretty much. So yeah, that's my favorite story in this book. Probably. Yeah, that's my favorite overall story and my final favorite of my top favorite stories. Well, yeah. Alright, let's go into my favorite chapter. Now, this is always a like basically a collection of my favorite overall stories, but maybe some of these didn't make it into the final of the top favorites, but that doesn't mean I didn't like them. It simply means that I like them all enough. I just did not have enough space to put them all together, and that chapter begins on page 51, and the chapter called Five Nightmares. Now, yeah, the description says, an artist paints some pictures, a boy got a new pet, a girl went on vacation. Everything was normal. Then nothing was. It's pretty creepy. It includes the story of the dream, which is about a gal who's painting. It's got my list of stories in here. It has Maybe You'll Remember, and it's the spider faced, the red spot, which is the story with the spider faced lady. No Thanks. It's just an overall really good chapter. I really enjoyed it. Yeah, so let's go into my least favorite story, and unfortunately it is part of this chapter. It is Sam's New Pet. It's basically a story about a couple who buys a animal for their kid, and they discover that the animal is essentially a rat, and it has rabies. I just didn't like it. I didn't think it was scary. I didn't think it was that weird, especially since it obviously wasn't creepy enough to the person, the couple, to realize that it wasn't right, and nobody on the street noticed it. It just, I don't know, it didn't come off as and they thought it was a dog, like, they managed to slip it past, like, customs without any real problem. I don't know, I didn't like that. So, I do like I must point out, I do like the illustration for this story, but other than that, it's probably my least favorite. Alright, now to my favorite section. My top 5 favorite illustrations and or art of the books. Alright, well, we're going to begin first here on page 20. Oh, I missed it a little bit. Go back. Like I said, page 20. It kind of gives us, feeling that the house itself is alive, and it goes with that footsteps story that I really liked. So, yeah, it's really just quite eerie, like I said, the house is almost alive. The next one is on page 28, and this is quite beautiful looking. You know, some of his best stuff is just some of the stuff that's hard to describe to somebody. You know, it's like a horse's skeleton. I love it. All right, our next one isn't too far off, and it's something of a double image. It's for the story Harold, and it's that creepy scarecrow story that it comes from. You know, it looks like a dead body kind of hanging. Alright. Our one after that is on page 37. Alright. It goes with a very terrifying story of creatures in the woods. So, yeah, look at that. In the swamps, sorry, not the woods. Alright, now, our final favorite image here is on page 83, and that looks like this. And it actually really goes well with the story, as it's a terrifying creature with playful intent. Alright, well, thank you very much for joining us. And maybe join us for our next video, where we go over some of my top 5 overall favorite illustrations from the Scary Stories trilogy. Thank you. Bye-bye.